Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, March 13th, 2026. This is Truth News. I am Walter Bass. Today is day 1646 since my son was kidnapped, violently sexually assaulted, and murdered by serial child killer State Judge Kelly Hansen of Marietta, California, in Riverside County, California, which everyone should know by now is nothing but a Sinaloa cartel-funded human, child, and drug trafficking terrorist regime, including Sheriff Chad Bianco, District Attorney Mike Hestrin, the entire Sheriff's Department, the city of Marietta, on and on and on. Tonight's show, we're going to talk about media manipulation for money. And I've put together quite a list of all of the mainstream media anchors or commentators or analysts. Most of these names, a lot of you are going to know, maybe a couple you don't. And you're going to be quite shocked at the amount of money these people make. And I don't understand if you're just reporting on events that happen throughout the day, the week, why these people need to make this kind of money. And we're going to get into why. We're going to answer those questions for you. I want to thank everyone for your time, for your attention. And I make these videos for my son. It has been just unrelenting terrorism and retaliation by the FBI for reporting child sex trafficking to the FBI. So to counter that, I just speak the truth. I send emails every day, make phone calls every day, and make YouTube videos every single day. This is my 100th video I've posted, so this will be the first 100 of who knows how many until I get my son's teeth, toenails, fingernails, and hair back. So let's get into tonight's show without any further ado. Media manipulation for money. And we're going to let's go through Fox first. And I'm going to break down each anchor and their annual salary. And we're going to start with the biggest moneymaker on the list, Sean Hannity. That's right, the Trump puppet, Mr. I'll say and do anything for Donald Trump to look like a good guy, even though we all know, according to Iranian news, according to the Einstein files, basically according to everything over decades, Donald Trump rapes children. Sean Hannity makes $45 million a year. Let me repeat that. Sean Hannity, a news anchor for Fox News, makes $45 million a year. I don't think a lot of actors in Hollywood make that kind of money. That's staggering to me. Just to report the news. I mean, that's all you're doing is reporting the facts and the truth, and you're paid $45 million a year. Next, we're going to go with Greg Gutfeld. $24 million a year. $24 million a year for Greg Gutfeld to do his little commentary show and to basically try to psychologically manipulate everyone into believing that our government is not a satanic occult of pedophiles. $24 million a year. Next, we have Laura Ingraham, $18 million a year. Jesse Waters, $16 million a year. Brett Baer, $14 million a year. Dana Perino, $13 million a year. Maria Bartiromo, $10 million a year. And Neil Cavuto for $7 million a year. And I meant to add all these up. And let's just do that real quick while I'm got you live right here. And we're going to just see how much money Fox News pays total for people to tell us the news. I mean, that's basically what they're doing, right? minute while I add this up. $147 million a year Fox News pays for these people to tell us the truth, the current events, and the state of our government and our nation. That seems like an awful lot of money for people just to sit behind a desk on a camera and just report the facts. If that's not proof without a reasonable doubt that these people are state-funded, paid propagandists psychologically manipulating our entire nation, using their massive platforms and outreach to psychologically abuse American citizens into accepting terrorism, the destruction of our country, child sex trafficking, human trafficking. It's despicable. Next, let's go to ABC. We're going to have Robin Roberts, $25 million a year. A lot of you know Robin Roberts. I believe she was on Good Morning America. David Muir, $8 million a year. George Stephanopoulos, $15 million a year. And Joe Scarborough, $8 million a year. This is ABC. So 25, there's 40, and 16 is going to be $56 million a year for 4 anchors on ABC. 4 people making $56 million a year just to report the news. Do you really think that it takes $56 million a year and 4 people just to tell you current events and report on the facts of them? Because that doesn't make sense to me. Robin Roberts, $25 million a year. Jim Carrey didn't make that kind of money per film when he was at the height of his career. When he was doing The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, he wasn't making $25 million a film. That's Tom Cruise style money. That's Denzel Washington style money. Why is Robin Roberts on ABC making Denzel Washington and Hollywood style money? Because these people are paid psychological abusers. Next, we're going to have CBS News. Gayle King, $17 million. Barry Weiss, $10 million. Anderson Cooper, $20 million. Rachel Maddow, $25 million. Diane Sawyer, $22 million. Scott Pelley, $7 million. So we have 20, 40, 67, 77, $84 million. I'm sorry, 84 plus 17 is going to be 90, $101 million annually for CBS News. So when you're watching these mainstream media outlets, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, and I didn't even do NBC anchors. So a couple of these are NBC anchors. I believe Rachel Maddow is NBC. Anderson Cooper might be NBC. I'm not sure. I don't watch this. I get all of my news from YouTube, from different sources. You know, Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, Ian Carroll, Coach Colin, Midas Touch, Keith Edwards. I can go on and on. Kyle Kalinske. And I'm not saying I agree with Kyle Kalinski's views or Keith Edwards' views or Ben at Midas Touch views. I don't necessarily agree with all their views, but I trust them to report the actual facts of what's going on in our country rather than I do $45 million a year Sean Hannity, because I don't think he makes $45 million a year to report anything except propaganda. And propaganda is responsible for World War II, to be honest with you. So this is what's called, this collection, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS. They actually have a name for this, and you can Google this, you can research it. It's the Military Entertainment Complex. And in 1953, Dwight D. Eisenhower declared the hand of, and this is a direct quote from Eisenhower, the hand of government must be carefully concealed, and in some cases, I should say, wholly eliminated. So they don't even want you to see the hand of the government. The government, you've heard of the deep state, a shadow government, all of these things. This is the deep state. The mainstream media is the deep state. It is the invisible hand of the government. That's why they're making $20 and $40 million a year to report the news, supposedly. Eisenhower goes on to say, and that a great deal of this particular type of thing would be done through arrangements with all sorts of privately operated enterprises in the field of entertainment, dramatics, music, and so on and so on. And that is a direct quote. You can go ahead and Google military entertainment complex. You can look up Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1953 and pull this direct quote down. Our government, since the 50s, has been using all of Hollywood, all of music and television, all of the media is not independently or private owned. It is all government sanctioned, government funded, and nothing gets aired on any radio, news, entertainment platform without the expressed written consent of either the CIA, NSA, the United States government in some form or fashion. Thankfully, there are platforms like YouTube, Rumble, Spotify that do allow private people, regular people like me, like Baron Coleman, like Candace Owens, to actually spread the truth. And to be honest with you, I'm grateful for that. And I would hate to see where we would be without YouTube, without Rumble, without Spotify, without these platforms allowing regular citizens to express their views, let them do their research, and let them report the facts. So, following the 9/11 attacks, there was an increase in collaboration between the United States government, Hollywood, and studio executives. So after 9/11, they ramped up the use of media and propaganda to psychologically abuse American citizens. And I'm not going to get into 9/11. I think we all know what that was. Let's be honest. Those planes didn't take off from the Middle East. Those planes took off from right here in the United States, JFK and LaGuardia. Those planes never left the country. Those planes took off in New York, flew into buildings in New York City. Those planes were domestic planes. Those were not international planes. So anybody can say whatever you want. It was the Middle East. It was Iraq. It was Iran. It was Saddam Hussein. It was Bin Laden. You can say all of that stuff you want, but those planes did not fly from the Middle East to the United States of America. They left U.S. soil and they crashed into buildings on U.S. soil. They never left U.S. soil. They stayed right here in the country. And to put it simply, that's pretty much what it is. Mass communication media of the United States is effective, mass communication media of the United States are effective and powerful ideological institutions that carry out a system-supportive propaganda function. So basically, for some reason, group thinking, and they don't like this. They love everyone to be in what's called group thinking. And there is actually scientific research on this, that an individual is more likely to think for himself and to speak than when they are in a group. If you take that same individual and you ask him questions, because of the group mentality, the herd mentality, they're less likely to rebut or refute anything that's told to them. So group thinking actually weakens critical thinking of the masses. And the larger the group you can put together, the more likely the group is to lower itself or conform to each other in order to stay in the group. It's called herd thinking, group mentality, and it's actually easier to lie to a large group of people than it is to an individual. For some reason, it sounds odd, I know, but you can do research on this. Um, like you could ask somebody, this flag here is, you could tell them, that's green, red, and white. It looks blue, but it's really green. And an individual would say, no, you're crazy. But if you said that to a group of people, there's got to be that one first person who says, I disagree, I disagree. And what it is they take a risk of being betrayed by the group. So that's why group mentality works, to lie to them. Because if you lie to them, even though they might not accept it at first as the truth, unless someone singles themselves out from that group, isolates themselves, and disagrees with what's being told to them, they are more than likely to just keep their mouth shut because no one else spoke out. And that's what's happening in our country right now. That's what's happening with the mainstream media, whether it be the Charlie Kirk assassination, whether it be the Einstein files, whether it be the corruption, whether it be all of the just criminal, barbaric, inhumane acts. It's just sickening and disgusting, really, to watch our society and our country crumble because of just poor, incompetent, ineffective leadership. It's unbelievable that it's 2026 in the United States of America, and we're actually discussing things like cannibalism of children, raping of children by the President of the United States of America, child sex trafficking by pastors of churches like Greg Laurie of Harvest Church. I mean, let's put that in perspective. It's 2026 in the United States of America. And we have Harvest Church of Riverside County, the pastor, trafficking children from Riverside, California to Romania. And it's actually been going on for decades. And the government, the law enforcement, and the intelligence agencies are actively working to allow this to keep going. We have the President of the United States documented with raping and beating children. Raping and beating children. The President of the United States of America documented. And the United States intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and media are actively working to allow that. Think about that for a minute. Think about how disgusting it is. But think of the impact that is having on people's perception of humanity, of society, of America, of law and order, of what's acceptable and unacceptable. I mean, if you work for a company and the boss is just doing all kinds of criminal acts, stealing from the company, helping himself, coming in when he wants, leaves when he wants, and, acting like the company doesn't even matter, how would you expect any employees in the company to care about the company and act like it matters if the owner of the company doesn't? And when you see the FBI, the CIA, Homeland Security, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, Kash Patel, when you see all of these heads of these institutions that are the backbone of the United States government, when you see them conducting themselves the way they do, how can you expect the people to have any trust or faith in our society, in our country, in our institutions? It's really, for me, it's devastating to think that people would actually do this to an entire country intentionally for their own personal gain. You know, if I did the things that Donald Trump did, the last thing I would do is run for public office to where I'm going to be displayed in front of the whole world. Knowing what I had in my background, I would just not go after that type of position. Why would I want to humiliate myself in front of the whole world? Because I would know it's going to come out. You're in public service. You're a political figure. You're a public figure. You know, you're susceptible to all types of investigations, inquiries. Everything you've ever done is going to come out. Everything you've ever said is going to be played on video over and over and over. And if I knew I had crimes against humanity in my background, I would not want anything to do with any type of political or public position, period. But these people actually thrive on it. These people actually crave the cameras, the microphones, and the spotlight, despite the fact that they are vile, disgusting creatures. So, I was going to do a recap of all the shows I've done. Kind of like, just this is the notebook I keep all of my notes in that I've done. Every show I've done is in this notebook. All the notes I've taken, all the research I've done, I keep it all. And I will do this until I find out where the remains of my murdered son is. Until I get my son's teeth, toenails, fingernails, and hair back, so I can put him to rest, say a prayer, and move on with my life. So maybe tomorrow I'll do a recap. I know I said this was going to be Free Speech Friday, but I wrote this show up last night, and so I thought I'd go ahead and do this show today. Maybe tomorrow we'll do a Free Speech Saturday, and we'll just touch on all the current events. You know, the gas prices going up because of the Epstein Fury war in Iran, which is, another just stupid waste of lives and money of the American people. And I hope things get better. I pray things get better. I really do. But I don't think these people have any interest in being better, doing better, or getting better in any way, shape, or form. I really think that our trusted elected public servants only care about themselves, their power, their sexual deviancy, their money, their greed, their lust, their addictions, and they don't care about anyone but themselves. They really don't. And they are driving this country off a cliff at about 120 miles an hour. And it's sad to see. So, as always, we're going to close with a Bible verse. We're already in Timothy, 2 Timothy. And I'm going to start at 4, which is preach the word. Which, I always reference the Bible for most of my day. And it does, I'll be honest with you, following the Bible very strictly like I do. I don't eat pork. I do cuss, but very limited. I don't use a lot of cuss words. I never say certain curse words that I know blaspheme God. I don't do that. I don't talk about sex. I don't really care about money. I'm not into all that stuff. And it makes people uncomfortable to just be okay with being yourself and being with God and doing without. And that's okay. I'm going to keep preaching the word. I'm going to keep serving my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I'm going to keep advocating against the rape, murder, and sale of children. And I hope and pray the United States government will bring my son back and stop with the little childish nonsense, the psychological, emotional warfare they conduct to defend a child serial killer, State Judge Kelly Hansen, who has thousands of victims of children over 16 years. 16 years. So, I solemnly, this is 2 Timothy 4, we're going to start at 1. I solemnly charge you in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who is the judge of the living and the dead, and by his appearing in his kingdom, preach the word. Be ready in season and out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with great patience and instruction. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance with their own desires, and will turn away their ears from the truth and will turn aside to myths. I find that verse very fitting, considering we covered the mainstream media, how much money they're made, and the mainstream media tickles their ears, and they preach in accordance with their own desires, and they turn away from the truth. I think that verse is very fitting, considering the propaganda machine of the mainstream media and the just lack of respect and dignity for we the people of the United States, for the laws of the United States of America, and for the institutions they were elected to serve. So we are at the 27-minute mark, and like I said, I try to keep these videos at 30 minutes. I just know how people's attention span is with this social media, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the scrolling. Really deteriorates your attention span, really takes a toll on your psyche. So I encourage everyone to read. I encourage everyone to write. I do every day. I find it to be very good for my mental health. It's very good for my attention span, my focus, my clarity. And I want to thank everyone for your time and attention. I want to thank you for your support. This is 100 videos of many, many more. Please like, share, and subscribe. Everyone, happy Friday. Have a good weekend. I will see you tomorrow.